Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rangers Journal. This is the news show, 12 o'clock. It's the 3rd of October. I'm not going to bother asking the rest of the guys how they are. I think that if you're feeling anything like me, you won't appreciate the question. I'll just say hello to everyone. Bob, first of all, how you doing? I just asked you how you're doing. You all right?
It's all right. Yeah,
Automatic.
yeah, not too bad. It's rainy outside, and I think that the mood won't lift anytime soon.
Jack, thank you for joining us as well, mate.
Yeah, I'd love to say I'm happy to be here. It was a nice change last week to talk about a win, but got right back down to earth this week.
I know. And finally, Cammy, welcome aboard, mate. It's been 0 days since Rangers have ruined things for us, hasn't it?
Aye, it's Friday, it's 12 o'clock, it's a 3-hour therapy session, so I'm looking forward to getting stuck into it, as always.
No worries, Cammy. Well, I'm going to start with you because I just don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. Cards on the table. I went to bed at halftime. I've not been feeling well this week, and there was nothing in that game that made me want to stay and watch it. So, and I even said this morning, you know what? I didn't even check the score. That wasn't the first thing I did when I woke up. But how are you feeling?
Scunnered, completely disconnected with the football club on and off the park. I think that sort of I could talk for the next 58 minutes, to be honest with you. But it was more of the same. I think that's one of the biggest frustrations that I've got, is that we're seeing the same failings game after game, and nothing's changing. And that's just from the football side of it. There's a million things off the pitch that are also equally concerning. And Russell Martin ultimately is the man. As Super Ali said in commentary, he is the manager, the head coach, whatever you want to call him. The buck stops with him, but those people who appointed him went through a thorough recruitment process and thought he was the best appointment, are equally as culpable in this situation that we find ourselves on the 3rd of October. And it doesn't give me any positivity, the fact that these same people will be recruiting for his replacement when it does happen. Because I said this last week, it's inevitable Russell Martin's tenure as Rangers manager ends. It's just a matter of when it eventually happens.
Jack, I'll come to you. I guess give us your up-to-date thoughts on how you're feeling at the moment regarding everything, really.
Yeah, I'd echo Cammy's thoughts on the manager. On the guys above him, if they admitted they'd made a mistake and got rid of him, in late August, or even after Bruges, you could go, right, fair enough, they made a mistake, they've admitted it, but it's at the point now where, like Cammy says, you don't trust them to make the right decision with anything. We've seen the hirings this week, which I'm sure we'll touch on. They don't inspire you with confidence. The team, every time they give you a little bit of confidence, like a win last Sunday in the last minute, and go, right, this could be a starting point. I mean, I think I've said that 3 or 4 times this season, right, this has to be a starting point, and it never is. It's just right back down to earth, either the next game or the game after that. There's no consistency, there's no momentum, and it's just a mess at the moment, to be honest, and it's depressing.
No, you're right. Bob, as well, I'll let you just get whatever your feelings are off your chest before we touch on things in more in depth.
Yeah, I think it's again. I think just echo the thoughts of Cammy and Jack below, and yourself, Billy. That the word that I think seems to be going around probably today more so of late is just scunnered. I think the word is scunnered. I think it's past the point of emotion. It's just it's a lack of emotion, I think, from fans now. It's like it's as Cammy said, it's inevitable that it's now when and not if. And the air of optimism that we had in the summer when myself, you and Cammy were on the news shows over the summer, just as the news broke of the takeover, has completely drained from the support, and you're now just looking at it going, these guys are, it's soul destroying. I think that I'm trying to keep emotions in check, but it's soul destroying. similar to what the guy said and what you said, Billy. You know, last night I didn't watch the game. I just caught the highlights, and if you can call them highlights, obviously lowlights are getting 2 goals against in such a, you know, I think again word going around is nearly criminal manner, or the way we lost the goals. I know we'll come on to it shortly, but yeah, just don't really know where the light at the end of the tunnel is. And eventually, you know, as Cammy said, the concern is that when Russell Martin is relieved of his duties, do we have the confidence in the board to appoint a manager who's going to address the issues that we're seeing on the park? And that's another major concern, because it doesn't feel, I don't have confidence in those that would be appointing the next manager of Rangers Football Club to do so in a positive manner.
Mm-hmm. Cammy, if I can touch on the 2 goals that I seen last night. I heard David Edgar in his post-match saying that they should be investigated for criminal activity. They were the most basic of errors I think I've ever seen a professional football team give away 2 goals.
Aye, and then you watch the manager after the match talking about how we spend so much time practicing throw-ins, and actually being quite pleased that that's the first goal that we've lost from a throw-in this season. Shambolic, absolutely shambolic. Individuals not doing their job, but why are they not doing their job? Whose job is it to make sure they're doing their job? You know, so you're 6-7 minutes into the game. You know, it's same story. You know, I've said this on podcasts for years now. See, if somebody walks past 3 players and bends it in the top corner, you can almost accept it. Great bit of skill. Never happens with Rangers. The second goal, you know, we're about the halfway line with a high line. It's anybody. I mean, Stevie Wonder could scout us and actually tell us how to get at this Rangers defence. The same sort of situation, but again, individuals aren't switched on. But the manager is, and those around him are responsible for the setup. And just before this goes out my head, 4.5 minutes, I think the manager spoke in his press conference, and this is another press conference where he himself has no accountability and accepts no responsibility for his role in this situation. He again threw the players under a bus. Mentality, all that sort of nonsense. It's his job he's been in the building for 3 months. It's his job to get the right mentality and the right culture. But this is a group of players that have down tools for the manager, ultimately. But the 2 goals just sum up. And if Russell Martin stays in charge for another 2-3 months, we'll see that same situation going over and over again, because it's happened at Rangers and it's happened at every club that Russell Martin has managed.
Jack, goals for us seem to be extremely hard to come by, and usually they're not from mistakes in the defensive team. They're usually some kind of skill, like Gassama last night scoring that goal. Usually something like that happens, or there's a stramash like we've seen Max Aaron score at the weekend. Those goals, Cammy mentioned there, like the players down in tools. Do those goals look like players that just don't? Are they deliberately doing this now? I mean, I don't want to question them that way, but it's in my head.
I don't think it's deliberate. I think they've just been given too many instructions by the manager and the coaching team. They've been told to do too many things, overcomplicated, and they seem to have been two minds about everything. There's always the natural way they play, and we've seen that in the second half when I feel like they were given more of a license to just play their own game. You could see they're good footballers. It was too little, too late last night, but in the first half, you can just see that they're in two minds every time about where to be, about what to do. I just feel it's been piled on with all this information, and it just doesn't work. And we've done this a few times this year. We start off in the Martin style, and it doesn't work early on, and then at half time or even earlier, he changes it completely and starts throwing on strikers and attackers, and we get somewhere. But the fact he's having to do that so many times surely suggests to him and suggests to the team as well, I don't know what I'm doing when this isn't working. And I don't know what else to say. The players look confused, the manager looks clueless, and we are just getting frustrated with it all.
Bob, we gave up a manager, and rightly, I think, in the end, in Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, but he was someone that could identify where things were going wrong in a game and change it and got us to Europa League final. So there just doesn't seem to be this thing in Russell Martin's head to, when things do look good for us, it's when he has abandoned his style. So where do we go forward with this?
I think that's the major question, Billy. I think, again, just touching back on what we said, the license that we had the second half, and again, having only kind of caught bits and pieces, the goal that we scored, seemed to be a very good goal from Gassama that, abandoned the principles of what Russell Martin seems to want the team to do, just as Jack pointed on. The first half, there were maybe just two in their own heads of we need to try and play the way the manager has asked us to play, or the way we've been coached for the the last couple of days and run up to the game. The concern is that, again, who would you bring in? The worry is that he's so nailed on to play in a particular way, and when he abandons it, the fact that we had 4 strikers on the park in the last quarter of the game screamed to me desperation, that he just didn't know how to change it tactically to allow us to be more attacking going forward, other than just putting attackers on. And that to me kind of screamed more than anything else. It was like he couldn't change the formation of the team because they hadn't been coached that way, because he doesn't know. I'm not saying he doesn't know how to coach it, but again, it appears like a lack of information that he can provide from a coaching setup, which again is a major concern. That he's not, and by no means an inexperienced manager. He's obviously had 2 or 3 jobs prior to this one, but those jobs prior to this one, he's not won anything. And again, we've touched on that when he was appointed, the fact that he gained promotion at the Premier League through the playoffs when he finished 4th, having went on a 20-game unbeaten run. At this moment in time, even on a 20-game unbeaten run with Rangers isn't going to take us really anywhere that we want to go, unless they're all wins. You would have to win every single game from now till Christmas, and based on what we're seeing at the moment, that's not going to happen.
Cammy, I believe it's 5 wins, 5 draws, and 6 defeats is the Russell Martin record, which to me isn't good enough at any point in the history for a Rangers manager, but especially not one as well. This is my personal opinion, unlikable as he comes across. I don't mean to say that he's not a nice person, but he doesn't come across very well in interviews. You might have seen the videos kicking around Twitter or whatever this morning of some fans in the hotel having words with Elwell and Stewart. Did you have a chance to see that at all?
I've seen bits of it, Billy, to be honest with you. Unlikable, I think, is nailed on. I said that on my own Twitter this morning, that he comes across as an arrogant man. But I have no issue with somebody that's arrogant if they can back it up. And, I said it before, actions speak louder than words, and that's where I am at the moment. I don't blame anybody. I feel sorry, and I've said this before, I feel sorry for those fans that spend they'll probably be at 10 grand by this point so far in the season going to these trips. They're perfectly entitled. See as long as they don't step over the line and get aggressive, like actually wanting fisticuffs sort of thing. See, as long as you're constructive and you present it in the right way, these guys are perfectly within their rights. But that's what's almost going to have to take, is the people that are making the decisions have to be the ones that are getting the criticism more than the manager, because they are the people that ultimately can pull the trigger. And when the pressure comes and the actual scrutiny is on them, that's the only thing that's going to potentially change it. But I don't blame those people at all. I think they were quite measured, to be perfectly honest with you. I think that alcohol would have been consumed, etc. So I think they've done well to actually keep themselves reasonably in check.
What did you make of it, Jack? If you've seen it, that is.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. I do appreciate what the guys are trying to do. They just come across quite badly because they've had a drink. I mean, it's not their fault. They don't know they've been filmed. I just feel like it could have been handled better. Patrick Stewart, the comment he made about, oh, well, who would you hire? That's the stuff you expect to hear from idiots on Twitter, not from, the CEO of a football club. It's not our job, Patrick. We are telling you we're not happy. We're the customers. We're not happy with the product we've been served. It's your job to hire and fire guys that are going to be able to handle that job. Thelwell, I thought, came across a bit better. He managed to kind of calm the situation, but it just reinforced to me that Patrick Stewart, like Russell Martin, is completely out of his depth at Rangers Football Club.
Yeah. Bob, the comment that apparently Patrick Stewart made, I didn't hear it clearly, but basically saying, well, who would you hire? I thought it was a bit silly to say that, but what I would do is recommend that you go back and look at our videos that myself and mainly Scotty did over the summer, and that's go through every managerial candidate, because every single one of them that isn't Russell Martin would have been a better appointment than Russell Martin. The fans knew it when he was appointed. We all said it's not what we want, but we'll get behind him. But at this point, nobody is behind him, are they?
No, I think, there was, again, as we said, we were trying to kind of look at the ownership, take over in the summer, and we thought, right, well, they'll have a kind of good business acumen of, what's worked. And again, similar to what, yourself and the guys spoke about in the pods over the summer, over the various ones that we had, regarding the 49ers, and have that, they'd hopefully take the good things that they'd learned from their time with Leeds and implement it up here, so that they're not going to make as many mistakes or similar mistakes. But this one just seems, this is the one major one that we didn't want to be a mistake, has been an utter catastrophe of a mistake in appointing Russell Martin as a manager. It's just not worked. It's not going to work, and the sooner that they come to that realization, the better. It just doesn't look as if, again, I said this in the group chat, I think they're trying to, look at it and say, keep their metal, to say, give them till Christmas. And as fans, we don't want to hear that. But from a business point of view, they're looking, going, this is our first appointment as the new owners of the club. We don't want to be seen to be bowing to fan pressure this early on. But there's going to come a breaking point, as Cammy and Jack and obviously the comments are saying about, if we start voting with our feet and not turning up and not buying the product, as Jack said, as customers, we're not happy with it. We're not going to buy strips or, hospitality tickets, obviously, which has already been, talked about on several social media sites, buying, the fourth top that's going to probably come out at some point before Christmas or at Christmas. We're not going to invest money in the team if what we're seeing is not, making us want to buy those things. It's not positive on the part. So yeah, it's certainly not a great situation to be in. And I would, again, probably urge them to go back, because the analysis that yourself and Scotty done over the summer with the manager series, which is obviously up on YouTube, and you can go check it after you watch this, watch us in the news. But as you said, any of those managers that had been looked at would be an upgrade on what we've currently got in the dugout.
Cammy, the frustrating bit is, what do we do as fans? Obviously, as fan media or as a podcast we run, we can give a cross section of views from all the different guys that are on. But how does that translate into getting them to take action?
I really don't know. I don't think the support can do much more, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's 100%. I don't think the Rangers support in my lifetime has ever been 100% in agreement about the removal of a manager. I think even Philip Clement, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, Michael Beale, you would still have had a percentage of supporters that would have sort of found a case for them. We're in a situation where the fans' social media vocally at games. I mean, the 27 seconds after you've scored a 94th minute winner has never been heard of. I don't think I've heard of it. Never mind at Rangers, at any football club, a reaction to a last minute goal, which that's 7,500, 8,000 Rangers fans away from home. You know, when the away support, they always say when the away support turns on a manager, then you know your tea's out, and that happened many weeks ago for Russell Martin. To be perfectly honest with it, so I really don't know. I think what did we have? 13,000 empty seats last Thursday night against Genk. That's only going to continue. The next home game against Dundee United, the crowd will be given is 47,000, but there'll be 30,000 in attendance because people will just no go. And then that knock on hospitality, kiosks, merchandise, that's where it's noticed, and that's where the people at the top of the club then start to see the drop in the revenue. That's the only way I think it can continue, is just more of the same, because ultimately those people that are making the decisions are doubling down and doubling down and doubling down. I really don't know. I think I would have had a lot. I think Jack said early on, I would have had more respect for Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell if they had done what Bayer Leverkusen did 2 minutes into Eric Ten Hag's appointment, when they realised this isn't working, and they made the change. The change should have been made 7 weeks ago. Hold your hands up and say we thought he was the right man at that given point, whether we agree with that or not, but we don't think it's going to work. It's a time for a change. Give us an opportunity to try and give us something to build on for the season, to be honest with you. But as a support, I don't think we can do any more than we are doing. We've backed the club 100% financially and in person. You know, I do come back to, I have no trust in the people that are making the decisions at the football club to get the next decision right, and that's as big a concern to me as Russell Martin at this point.
Jack, the owners said when they took over that if things were going well, we wouldn't hear from them, and if things were going bad, then we would hear from them. Well, we're not hearing from them, so I can only take that to mean that they think things are going well.
And I don't know how long that can last. I understand that they obviously anticipated teething problems, but this has gone beyond teething problems. This is the teeth falling out and falling in the drain. It's been like this since Bruges. For me personally, anyway, I accepted the Motherwell, Dundee. It can happen. It was a Bruges game that finally slapped us in the face to me. It's not going to work. The home game and the away game especially, it's not been getting better since then. The fan mood after that night in Belgium was beyond toxic, and it's stayed that way since, and it's not going to get better unless he goes on and wins every game remaining this season. But it's not going to happen because he's not there. But you keep thinking after every disappointment, right, this is going to be it. This is going to be it. But he reminds me a bit of, I think it was Pedro towards the end. Every time it would seem to hit a low, he would get maybe one or two good results and it would slightly pull his head above water. It's the same thing. He keeps getting these wee wins domestically now, and then the European results, as annoyed as we are and as bad as it looks to us, if the American guys are just looking at results going, oh, well, we won at the weekend, and that's not good enough for Rangers. They don't seem to understand Rangers, which I cannot believe, when they've been bought their shares off guys like Dave King and they've done all this due diligence into the purchase. It's I don't know. Like Richard just said, I am in the back of my mind kind of hoping that it is, we'll get through this Falkirk game, hopefully get 3 points, and then we've got this break, they'll make the change. Because I said after the last international break, you had to win all 4 or 5 games between that break and this break, and he's not done it. So hopefully they're just waiting to make the change when they've got some time to get the new guy in and embed his ideas. But I don't know if that's the heart overruling the head there.
What do you make of that, Bob? I've seen Cammy nodding along. I'm in agreement that would be the time to make the change, but are you confident that that's what's actually going to happen?
again, I feel like it's wishful thinking. I think, just as we said, the fact that we've not heard anything from the ownership, that maybe they're just trying to take stock. Just touching back on the videos, that are the clips that have been on social media this morning doing the rounds. It's just, I just don't see what they're going to do anytime soon. That he's going to need to. It's not even that we're getting beat and showing good performances. There's no performances. We spoke about this, last year with Clement. There was no style in the team that we could see, and we just don't see the same. We're not seeing anything different in Russell Martin's play. Yes, he's trying to play a specific way, but it's not working. It's not having a positive impact in terms of results on the park for this team. I'd probably, argue that the recruitment hasn't been too bad. I think we have brought quality players in. Again, I feel as if it's now coming down to the management team and the coaching team of, you're not doing the things that are going to help these players show their talent or show their quality. And that's why we're now getting frustrated, because we're not seeing anything from these players, and especially at the cost that we've brought people in. I mean, I know there's points getting made about Manny Fernandez, at $3.5 million, he's not even making the bench. You're going, well, if he's a project player, same as Enciala, because obviously that was something that happened this week as well. The fact that there was social media posts from him saying that he was still here. He's been bombed out completely after having, an all right introduction between Christmas and the end of the last season. He's been bombed out completely for no one reason, no reason that's been given to us anyway. So yeah, to me, regardless of the result on Sunday, I suspect that Russell Martin will still be in a job come the Dundee United game, which again, probably the majority of people watching this, and we've got just over 460, so probably shout out to all of them that are watching this after last night. But yeah, I don't see it changing, and unfortunately, unless it's going to come out of left field. If they do, I just don't see it at the moment. Even if we get towards Christmas, I mean, from my take, Billy, and again, sorry to go on a rant, but I think he'll maybe get to the semi-final. If he wins the semi-final, he's done a job of getting us to a final. But even then, is it enough to, I say, put credit in the bank until the end of the year? I don't know. For the majority of fans, it's not. It's got to have been. He needs to get the bullet. But from an ownership side, do they look at it and say, unless he goes on an extremely bad run of results and loses the semi-final and gets equally as bad results in Europe before the end of the year, is that the thing that's going to push them over the edge to make a change? I don't know, but yeah, it's certainly not. Certainly not doing my blood pressure any good at the moment.
Cammy, it has been touched on, but they would do themselves an awful lot of goodwill in the fans' eyes if they come out and, you were saying admit they made a mistake with the manager. Admit they made a mistake and, excuse me, misunderstanding the Scottish League, misunderstanding the game. It's not... Possession-based football isn't something we've struggled with. Teams let us have possession. They don't come out of their shape. They just sit for the the 90 minutes and hope they get a goal. And quite often at the moment they are. In fact, some of the teams, Motherwell, for example, probably should have won that day. Do they come out? Or do you ever see them come out and saying, "Look, we've made a mistake, top to bottom"?
Doesn't appear to be the strategy as it stands at the moment. We're obviously going to come on to off-field matters before we conclude today, but I just don't see it. It's quite remarkable that we employed a communications director back in May, and he hasn't been heard of. And we've got a communications director, yet our communications strategy is absolutely abysmal. It's actually getting worse instead of better. But I just think we're putting a structure in place throughout the football club, which I don't have an issue with, modernising the football operation, etc. But it all comes back to employing the right people in key roles on and off the park. Recruitment doesn't apply to just signing the right players. It's having the right people making the decisions on and off the park, and it appears at this present time that we've failed miserably pretty much in all areas. But I'm not hopeful for any sort of communication from Marathi or Kavanagh. They've been over, they've obviously rubbed each other's tummies, and Russell Martin speaks about everybody within the building, and that really grinds my gears. When did Ibrox become a building? Just this constant talking about the support within the building is great, and everybody's on the same page, but complete disregard for us as supporters, in my opinion. And he continues to just have no time at all for the supporters, in our opinion, is irrelevant, to be perfectly honest with you. I have done what Bob said there, went off on a bit of a tangent, a bit of a rant, but I think emotions are very, very high at this moment in time. But we are a shambles of a football operation from top to bottom as it stands at the moment.
Jack, we've been compared to Man United, and there was some news this morning. The Rangers Review broke that Jim Leggett, who I've never heard of, but he's ex-Man United, is going to come in as a COO. We'll touch on another appointment in a wee minute, but keep to this one just now. He obviously knows Patrick Stewart. It seems incredible that the people that are outstanding candidates for these jobs at Rangers just happen to come from previous working places of our current CEO.
Yeah, it's strange. You can kind of understand it with some things. You're like, right, we need somebody in this role quickly. Like Dan Purdy in the summer coming with Spellwell, you know, right, okay, we understand that. You quickly need someone in a role. He knows him, he knows what he can do. But we're 4 or 5 months down the line into this new regime now, and we're still going for these guys. And the one we'll touch on later is the biggest head scratcher. But it just, surely we can put out feelers for this job, welcome applicants, take our time. We've done that with the management team, and I know that's not worked out well, but they took their time and due diligence on that. But with this one, we just seem to be going, oh, who can we get in? Or do you know so-and-so? Oh, I worked with him at Man United, worked with him at Everton. Go and get him. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like we could be aiming the bar higher, spreading our net a bit wider. It just seems to be an old jobs for the boys things you would have got back in the 90s, and it just feels like this takeover is meant to be the thing that finally took us into being a proper 21st century football club, and it just doesn't seem like much has changed, and it's just disheartening because you just felt like this was going to be a new era. It just seems to be more of the same.
Bob, you mentioned the owners reading the room and releasing a strip. I would fully expect them. I wouldn't be surprised if they released a strip tomorrow morning, because their inability to read the room or to read the fan base. Now, I mean, maybe you can understand. I don't know what industry you work in, maybe if you were looking to recommend someone to your boss, you'd maybe think of someone you used to work with. Is it just because of the way the fans are feeling that it's maybe appointments like this would cause us to be pretty angry?
Yeah, I mean, I actually work in complaints, so I'd probably be getting overindulged if I was working for Rangers in the complaints department, let me tell you. But yeah, to me, just when we were talking, it touches back to what Thelwell said in his interview, a few weeks ago, that, just as Jack touched on and Cammy touched on, it's, they're kind of looking at the markets that they know first and foremost, but they will look to spread their net kind of far and wide moving forward, just because they're just getting in and getting their feet under the table. But to me, these appointments, and obviously the biggest one is we'll touch on in a moment, but to me it is very concerning that that this guy Jim Leggett was part of the. I'd seen just before we come on live that he was part of the one that was kind of dismissing the waterfall from the roof at Old Trafford a couple of years ago, and was kind of trying to dismiss it as though it wasn't really a roof leak, it was something else that to do with the drainage and X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, again, the fact that as soon as that name's been linked with our job to say he's coming in as the new CEO, that's what's now getting posted, is that he's kind of dismissive. So that automatically leads a lot of Rangers fans to look at that and go, well, he better not be dismissive of us, because again, we're not really getting a lot of transparency from the board. Yes, we're maybe getting snippets here and there from Thelwell or Patrick Stewart, but that's kind of ad hoc. It's not, it seems kind of off the cuff. So yeah, it doesn't look good. And just as Jack touched on, it seems to me like they're opening up their phone book and just seeing who they can bring in. Compared to the 7 interviews that Russell Martin apparently went through to get the job. Like, are they doing the same thing with these board positions? It doesn't feel like it from the outset, or from the outside looking in.
Cammy, I'm building up to this appointment that I'll mention now. I don't know if it's actually in place, but we've led to believe that Robbie Thelwell has been given the job as chief scout, is it? Something like that, or head of recruitment, sorry. Kevin Thelwell's son, in case people didn't know, 26, 27 years old. I believe he's at Norwich at the moment. A quick look at Norwich's forums indicate that let's just say they're not sad about the news that he's leaving them. This, to me, is an astounding own goal at this time.
Aye, the optics on it, shocking. I think he was at Wolves, from what I can gather. He was at Wolves when Kevin Thelwell was there. So it's not just, it's obviously following. I'm surprised they didn't go to Everton with him as well, to be honest with you. But we must within the club be offering a fantastic friends and family bonus for recommending people. I mean, it must be like add 10% to your salary if you recommend a friend, and they'll get a job. I mean, it isn't a laughing matter, but I genuinely, I'm astounded, and I think it was spoken about reading the room, and I'm not saying reading the room should be uppermost in any recruitment, but this appears to me much like our player recruitment. It's lazy. And recruiting anybody from Manchester United, Man United and Rangers are the parallels. The finances are obviously massively different, but the inefficiencies and the poor decision making has been almost hand in hand across the last 10, 15 years. And bringing somebody from Man United who has been considered not good enough to remain at Man United, whilst they've cleared the decks, doesn't fill you with confidence. Patrick Stewart has been a complete disaster of an appointment. Patrick Stewart's been in place for about a year now. He was obviously heavily involved with regard to the takeover. But it's just, that's why I keep saying it's not just about the manager for me. It's the whole shooting match is shambolic in the way that we're actually going about things. And it all the goodwill that Bob's referenced with regard to the takeover, the longer this goes on, Kavanagh and Parik Marathi, they get dragged into this as well. They're ultimately, they're the ones that have put the money in, sort of situation. So yeah, it's just, I said earlier on, it's a shambolic situation that we find ourselves in.
And we're joined by Scotty. Scotty, mate, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us.
Aye, no bother. I was just, I'm on my lunch and I was watching these and I was like, it's got me thinking. So I just wanted to nip on and make a quick point, if that's all right, Billy.
Of course, mate.
I've just, well, my first half of my point is I was thinking, like, the board and Rangers can see all these kind of background changes. You can see all this in two kind of, look at it in 2 points of view, if you ask me. To sack Russell Martin, or if Russell Martin was getting results on the pitch, see all this stuff that's happening after the pitch, you don't notice it. You don't notice it, like Jim Leggett and all these Patrick Stewart's mates all coming in to back him up, and Kevin Thelwell's friends and family all coming in to back him up, which is clearly what's happening at the club. If Rangers were to make a change at the manager situation and bring in, I don't know, another mate, a Kevin Thelwell's, let's say Sean Dyche, for example, right? And he comes in and he started to win football matches. All the noise kind of dies down. But one question I kind of wanted to come to Cammy with in particular was, I was thinking just I was hearing you talk. I'm going back to Charles Green era here, and I remember when Derek Lymbias was appointed, his Mike Ashley's man on the board. Cammy, do you think we're heading back towards this sort of territory of we're getting people in the club that we don't want?
I mean, it's natural to put that connection together, Scotty. To be honest with you, I don't blame anybody that lived through the banter years, as they called them. It's only natural. We all have PTSD with regard to that sort of situation, and AGMs happening in a tent in the middle of Ibrox and all that sort of situation. But it's just nepotism with regard to the Thelwell appointment, lazy. I never thought that we would have this bright new dawn with the new owners and be questioning the situation so quickly. So I really hope, Scotty, that it isn't the same sort of situation, but I do understand where the connection is, to be honest, mate.
I don't know if it's me being. I'm very highly strung when it comes to Rangers in the podcast. You know what I'm like, and I'm just feeling as if I'm seeing all this happening round about me, and there's seems to be more and more news creeping out that this guy's coming in, that guy's coming in, and you're just like, nah. The more this is happening, the more I'm starting to feel uncomfortable with it. I don't know what the rest of you think.
See, just before you go back to Billy there, the one thing I spoke about this with guys at work during the week. See, if you're winning games on the park and you're sitting top of the table, off-field appointments get scrutiny, but they don't get the same level of scrutiny that they're getting at this moment in time, because what we want as Rangers supporters is a Rangers team winning every Saturday, every Thursday night, going to cup finals, being competitive in league titles to the end of the season. There was loads and loads of things used to happen under David Murray that appeared under, but they were kept under the radar because we were continually winning doubles and trebles and 8 in a row, 9 in a row, all that sort of situation. So there's focus on the appointments that are being made. But if Russell Martin had won 13 of the first 15 games, nobody would be scrutinising. I mean, I think Eddie Howe down at Newcastle, I'm pretty sure he's employed his son sort of situation. But Eddie Howe's done a fantastic job at Newcastle, and I don't imagine the support he's taken them into the Champions League and so on and so forth. Their focus probably isn't even on that, because they're just looking at what's going on the pitch, and they're winning more games of football than not. And until Rangers get back to that situation, which appears to have been since a lifetime ago, since we consistently won games of football and lifted trophies, the scrutiny and the questioning of off-field appointments is only going to intensify.
Scott, if I can come to you then, because where I would not disagree with you, understand what you're saying, but for me, when you get someone like Mike Ashley putting these people in position, the motivation there was to basically asset strippers and get onerous contracts that made him loads of money. Do you see anything with the current owners that gives you that worry, or is it just you've just kind of got PTSD from that time?
No, it's not purely for the current owners. I don't think I'm concerned about the ownership, because I see what one half of the ownership's done in terms of the 49ers with Leeds United, and you can kind of take a wee bit of comfort for that. So knowing they're in, and we've still got Rangers men that own the other 49%, so there's still guys that are there within the club, so there's still an element of control there. The concerns coming for me are, who are we bringing in? Are we vetting these folk? Who? I don't know. I mean, Billy, it stinks for me, to be brutally honest with you. All these kind of, you mentioned Jim Leggett coming in. Who else? There's a few of Patrick Stewart's buddies crawling about the club now, and is it for support of him? Is there going to be a culture being created within Rangers now? Look at all the staff vacancies that's been here over the last few months. It's just, there's certain things that I'm beginning to be worried about. And I think it is a bit of PTSD on my part, but Mike Ashley done a kind of similar thing in terms of putting Derek Lumbias in as his representative, and Charles Green and his people on the board, and it just, I don't know. It was maybe a thought I was having, like, as a support, should we be beginning to worry about who's currently in control of Rangers? Because Andrew Kavanagh's not in control, let's be honest about it. He's overseeing things, but he's not currently living in Scotland running the club. Patrick Stewart's in control of the club, Kevin Thelwell's in control of the club, and everybody else that they employ. I think it's more kind of that aspect I'm coming for, Billy.
Fair enough, mate. I see Ryan's joined in the group. Are you coming on, Ryan?
Aye, mate. I'm listening to you, and I want to put my 10 pence in as well, if that's all right. I'm getting a squad on the go. I just wanted to kind of bring something up that I'd referenced back to right when all this has started, right? And you'll remember my apprehension about cost of shirts, cost of tickets, all these things that basically we were going to be made to squeeze out of. And no, I don't think we're quite seeing the money side of it yet, because I think that's something that's probably going to come still. We're obviously going to have to suffer the football side of it to start with before we actually start seeing the money side of it. These owners do not give a monkey's about us at all. And we need to start to understand that there's no... See, as far as us shouting them...
Your audio is really bad, mate.
Is that right?
It's the same for me.
It's fine for me. I'm hearing you okay. Although Scotty's is...
I'm hearing Ryan fine as well.
Yeah. Keep going then, Ryan. It might just be Scotty. And you're muted, Ryan, sorry.
Sorry, I'm having a nightmare here. Sorry.
It's all right.
Seeing that what we're saying about basically don't care about us, and as far as they only hear about money, they're only here concerned about money. They're here to invest in Rangers and to make money from us, and we're going to get milked for it. You know, the things will come in the future as far as season ticket rises, ticket rises, merchandise rises. In years gone by, David Murray wouldn't have sat back and listened to people screaming, Martin, get to F, right? Years gone by, you wouldn't even seen it where, you know, banners and stuff like that. Rangers men who owned the club in the past would have reacted to this and binned them straight away. More so because they're Rangers men as well, and it's hurting them, but they wouldn't have let this carried on from what's there. The other thing as well, that an indication of this is what I've seen now, just in the last few days, that it's not actually been clocked onto. See the amount of off-site hospitality that's getting sold for the semi-final. Every single lounge, from what I can see at Ibrox, appears to be open for off-site hospitality. And they're selling these tickets. I think the minimum is 200 quid, and it can go up to 400 quid, right? You don't need to be a My Gers member. You don't need to be a member of Rangers Supporters Club. You can go in and pay for that. Now, what that means is, see for the semi-final that's coming up, all the people who have been shelling out, season ticket holders, continuous card payment guys, people who pay My Gers religiously, people who have subscribed to Rangers TV, bought the programmes, Edmondson House, everything, we're basically stepped over here for people that have got money to come in and pay for semi-final tickets. And all these tickets are going to come out of our allocation. And it shows you that the board do not care about average fans, loyal fans who are paying week in, week out to subscribe to things, to go to the games, to focus ourselves on getting these My Gers points, to get tickets for games. If you've got a few quid, you'll get to a game. And that's what they care about. They don't care about us. They care about Mr. Green. That's what they care about. They care about money. And all these things and all these appointments and stuff like that, it's bogus. And we need to be very careful, and we need to be very aware of what's going on here. And I'm worried. Football-wise, I think we're in the biggest trouble we've ever have been. Even when we went in administration, the football wasn't as bad as what it is just now. Even when we were good down the lower leagues, we were beating what was in front of us week in, week out. At this moment in time, the football has never been, from my living memory, it's never been what it has been. We can't compete on the park at the moment, and that is the biggest concern for me. Regardless of all the boardroom stuff, we can't beat what's in front of us just now, and that's, for me, that's the be-all and end-all. But I'll let you go on, mate, guys. I'll play away. Sorry for interrupting, all right?
Okay, mate. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Jack, on that point that Ryan makes there, that plan only succeeds if we are successful in the park. Okay, they maybe want to make more money out of other folk that aren't contributing the way that normal Rangers fans are, but surely they need to get the team playing and winning.
Yeah, surely they can see already the attendance dropping down, and just the complete. There's a lot of guys boycotting, buying strips and stuff. Surely they're going to see a hit in the watch soon. And I think when it comes to season ticket renewal time, they'll see a big difference if they don't do it, if they don't remove Martin before then. But I don't know. I'm still hopeful they do see the mess and they're behind the scenes doing a lot more than they would appear to be doing, and they're smarter than they would appear to the face of things. I don't know if I'm being naive and thinking behind the scenes they're looking at potential replacements, they're looking at ways to fix it, and we'll hear something shortly. But I don't know. It's just everything's so. There's no sort of media leaks coming out of the club these days, just because there's nobody in the Scottish media is connected to this new board, so we don't really know behind the scenes what's going on. But I'm just hoping they're not as disconnected as they appear to be.
Bob, touching back on the subject of Robbie Thelwell, because Scotty came in when we were kind of discussing it. For me, he's got a job in that position. At least he's got a similar role. He is experienced in it. He may very well be good at the job, but you can't tell me that he was definitely the outstanding candidate. You know, who else did we speak to? It reeks of the jobs for the boys usually means your pals, not your actual boy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a major concern. I mean, again, yourself, Scotty, Doug, the other guys in the general team would probably have a better idea of who is out there. Maybe that's an idea for another pod. Is, you know, who else is out there from a recruitment standpoint that we could potentially go and get. I mean, I know in the comments they'd mentioned Davy Weir. I don't think there would have been many people annoyed if that had been the appointment, but you know, the fact that the guy's 26, you know, from what we can see, he's never had this role before. You know, I'm not saying the lack of experience is telling, but if he's only 26, how long has he been doing it for? In terms of scouting, probably not that long. Yeah, it just seems a major concern that there doesn't seem to be from the outset. And again, just as Jack touched on, you know, there's not really anything coming out from the club, you know, unofficially that they've went through a really stringent recruitment process to find this person to fill this role. It's just out the blue. Oh, it's Kevin Thelwell's son that's getting the job. You know, they might come out with the strategic line of, oh, there was a, you know, extensive process carried out and he was the one that, you know, was a standout candidate or some garbage like that. I'll keep it PC for lunchtime. But yeah, to me, it screams in what they've not said rather than what they've said.
Cammy, on this, Bob obviously mentions somebody like David Weir. This kind of shouts out to me that they wanted someone to show them how to work Y-Scout, or someone to show them how to use the software to find players. It doesn't seem to me that they want someone who actually has an opinion, because Davy Weir would have an opinion. This is the guy's son. How much is he really going to play, you know, give back, push against them, you know, for that side of things? Does it seem like that for you, taken outside that it's his son? Is it just they need a young guy who will do what he's told?
Very, very possibly, but I just don't think that's healthy in any organisation. That, you know, we've seen what's happened with Nico as an opinionated player. Any organisation has to be open to suggestions and improvements and so on and so forth. I mean, I think he's obviously going to be working with Dan Purdy. I mean, I think he's the director of recruitment. I can't actually keep track of what people's job titles are. So I think ultimately Purdy, Thelwell are still the people that are making the overall decisions with regard to recruitment. It's the connection, it's the name, it's the fact that it's Kevin Thelwell's son. Kevin Thelwell hasn't had a fantastic summer, in my opinion. I said on the deadline day pod, I thought our recruitment had been poor. I still stand by that, bar one or two exceptions. You're never going to get them all right. That sort of situation. I see one of the comments referencing Ancelotti's son getting a job at Real Madrid. I mean, again, you can't really compare Real Madrid and Rangers, to be perfectly honest with you. They've only won the Champions League 16 times, and they've got Bellingham, Vinny Jr., and their fans are watching proper football and they can actually see what they're trying to do. So they're winning games and they're winning La Ligas and what have you. So you can't compare the two. Goes back to the Eddie Howe situation. When the football team, regardless of who it is winning games on the park, everything off the field is in the background, to be honest with you.
Jack, I'll come round for kind of final thoughts because we're 55 minutes already. The time has just kind of passed. Yeah, where are you after you've had a chat about it today? Where are you with things? And I guess what would you like to see in the next couple of weeks?
Still the same place. I'd just like to see a bit more action from the guys above Martin. The guy's clearly struggling himself. You can tell by the way he's speaking, by his actions. He's looking for something to stick, and it's just not happening. And for his own good, never mind the good of Rangers, for his own good, he needs to be removed from that position. I'm hoping we can just get through Falkirk where it's 2-1, 1-0, just grab a win, get in this international break, and then hopefully the guys above prove us all wrong, take some action, make a decision, and they've been working in the background to bring in a new manager who can take us forward.
No worries, mate. Thank you very much for joining me today. Bob, I'll come to you as well. Just get your final thoughts on things, and look forward to Falkirk as well. What do you expect to see there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess probably just take the Falkirk game first, Billy. But I think for me, it'll probably just kind of keep the team similar. I think Majovski will probably come back in for Chimite. Hammond might come back in, possibly for Asgard, just to take him out because he's not really been showing the form that he had in the past international break. Again, hopeful for a win. I kind of caught the pod from last night. I think, my heart is looking for a 2 or a 3 win. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I know that's been touched on earlier, but my head probably says we'll probably scrape a draw, unfortunately. And just on the other points, I just think I'm hopefully optimistic that come the international break, there's some form of change or some form of action taken by the club, because it's kind of death by 1,000 cuts at the moment, and I think we're nearing the we're in the 900s, hopefully close to that 1,000th cut to kind of just get us past this tenure, and hopefully try and look forward to the rest of the season. But yeah, thanks for having us on. Just one last thing, obviously we've got 677 folk watching us. If you can give us a like and subscribe, follow us on YouTube, help the algorithm, it certainly helps us out. So yeah, thanks for everyone for watching and everyone in the comments.
Yeah, thanks, Bob, for coming. Cammy, it is an away game. I don't know if that helps Russell Martin or helps the board. Obviously, if it was a home game, I don't think the turnout would be particularly high this weekend. Normally, I'm not looking forward to an international break because I like watching Rangers, but at the moment, I'll take Scotland over Rangers at the moment. But what's your final thoughts for the pod today?
It's an away game, but it's a home game for me because it's right on my doorstep sort of situation. So we'll see. To be honest with you, the one thing we haven't really spoke about the football in great depth, other than the defending, etc. One thing I did agree with Russell Martin last night, and yes, I did agree with Russell Martin last night, was about we did create a lot of chances in both halves. The second half was a bit scattergun, and I think we were throwing stuff at the wall. But even in the first half, we did create, and that is a minuscule positive for me, that we have actually started to create some chances. Sunday, if we create as many chances as we did last night, I think we'll win the game, 3 points. And then, as I echo Jack's thoughts, if they haven't been succession planning in the background, regardless of the backing that they have clearly given to Russell Martin, if they haven't been planning for a replacement, an international break is the cleanest time to do it. It has to happen. That we cannot. I can't come on here on the 23rd of October or whatever after the Dundee United game and we're still having the same conversation. Kevin Thelwell and Patrick Stewart can actually remove a bit of pressure from themselves by making the right decision that should have been made prior to now. But we could win 7-0 on Sunday. It doesn't make any difference. Russell Martin's tenure as Rangers manager, head coach, whatever we're calling him, has to end as soon as possible. And I do echo Baz's thoughts. I think it's Baz that spoke about Finlay Curtis. I am a member of the Finlay Curtis Rangers Supporters Club, and I don't understand why Finlay Curtis has... My concern when Mikey Moore was signed was that it would block the development pathway for Finlay Curtis, and that is exactly what has happened. Take no pleasure at all in being proven correct. But again, it's just symptomatic to the poor recruitment and decision making throughout the football club across the last few months. So do I have to actually go back to work, Billy? Because I could just quite happily sit here and just talk for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure the Scotty would be happy you doing that, getting the viewing figures up. So I do need to go, but thank you very much for joining me today, Cammy. Thank you as well, Bob, and thank you, last but not least, Jack. Thank you very much for being on. Thank you, each and every one of you, for watching. This is why we do it. If you do like the show, please like and subscribe. It does help us, as Bob was saying. And also, if you like to listen to podcasts, these shows go out as podcasts on your usual podcast app. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.